Hi, welcome back to the Chinese Medicine Podcast. Today we're going to be starting a new series about the relationship between our body's physiology, the physical function of our body, and creativity, and getting that motivation or that mojo back. So this is going to be useful for people who are in a creative kind of job. So you might be in a job where you rely on your creativity or you rely on your ability to come up with ideas. Welcome to this new series, and if you're not a subscriber already to the podcast, you can subscribe on audio to Apple or Google Podcasts or Spotify or however you're listening to this. So if you're listening on the audio, welcome. And if you are new to the podcast channel on YouTube and you haven't subscribed yet, then click that subscribe button and click the notification bell, and that way you'll never miss an episode. Hi, welcome to part 1 on creativity and your body in Chinese medicine. So in this series, we're going to be looking at the difference in Chinese medicine's way of understanding your body and how that might help you. So this particular episode is going to be looking at the basic physiology of your body in a 5-element way. So you have 5 elements, right? So 5 elements are representational ideas of functional systems in our body. So they can represent the organs of our body. They can represent wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. Those different elements represent like the fire type functions in our body, and they're attributed to different organs in our body, and those organs relate to systems. So for instance, the earth element, if you've been listening to any episodes that I've done before about dampness, then you would be familiar with the earth element, thinking about how it's related to digestion and growing your digestive functions. And the one thing with the 5 elements is they're not just standalone things. They're interdependent on the relationship between all the elements. So how does this affect creativity? Why should we understand this? Because the 5-element system shows how our body is dependent on the environment. And that's something that we've lost in our society, I think, in general now. And one is because we have just lost the ability to live in harmony with the environment. Because one was we've kind of lost the need to do that as much as we used to. One is through the increase of technology. It allows us to create artificial environments. And so we don't have to live just at the mercy of the environment, let's say. So look, I'm a big proponent of technology. I have an iPhone. I'm using a camera to film this. I have electricity in my house. I use air conditioning. And so what that means is throughout, I live in Perth, Western Australia, so this is a very hot season for us at the moment. It's just right at December. And so what that means is because we have air conditioning, you don't have to endure the heat of summer. You don't really have to endure a 40-degree day for the whole day. You can stick the aircon on. You can go to the shopping centre. I know people that, if your house is too hot, you go to a shopping centre or something to escape the heat, right? So I'm not saying in the old days you would have to have endured that. You would have been under a tree. You wouldn't stand out in the hot sun at 40 degrees. But we don't have to adjust our body as much. And in the Neijing, which is the oldest sort of fundamental text of Chinese medicine, let's say, one of the things that it says is don't hate the season, right? One of the things that it's kind of telling us in how to live in harmony with the environment is if you do this and this and this in summer, you will enjoy the summer season, and then you'll suit the following season. And if you do this and this in the summer season, in the autumn, then you'll be ready for your body will be prepared for the winter. And it's this idea that, okay, seasons change and things do change. Now, and our body and our mind and how we function, one is we can't have the same expectations of our body, and we shouldn't really place the same expectations on our body in all those seasons. And that's a very anti-productive way of thinking, possibly. My phone's beeping away. Technology. Messages. Can't escape them. And one thing I think, so technology's enabled us to kind of function at the same level as we don't have to be at the mercy of the environment. And look, that can be a great thing. That can be a really good thing for productivity. So let's say I decide, 3 o'clock in the morning, I want to do something. I can turn the lights on. I can turn my computer on. I can, crank it all up and I can do something. If I want to run an office and it's 40 degrees, I can put the aircon on. And, all those workers are pretty comfortable in that comfortable. So we were maintaining this comfortable environment, and we're not sort of having to endure very cold or having to endure very hot, same as with, winter. so I'm not saying we have to go back to the dark ages and not have those things, but what is that doing to our body, and what is that doing to our lifestyle in general? And one thing that these seasonal things make us do is they make us rest. They make us, like, because you cannot be that productive, you have to rest. You have to have a little bit of downtime, I guess. And so something that I find in our world at the moment is like I mean, I don't want this series to be a rant on society, but it's kind of inseparable. And that's why I love Chinese medicine so much, because it's this understanding of how interconnected everything is, how interconnected our body is meant to be with the environment. And some of the problems that we're coming across as a society, in general, and just you as an individual watching this, can be because of that disconnection. I'm talking to myself as well. I'm one of these people that will get up at 3 o'clock in the morning I'm a musician as well, right? And so if I don't get up at 3 o'clock in the morning very often, but what I'm saying is society lets me do that, and it actually rewards you for doing that in some ways, because it's like, well, whoever can produce the most, whoever's the most productive in a capitalist, commercial kind of society, that's rewarded, right? It's rewarded by how much you can produce and how good you can be. And so it's always about getting more. And then where does it end? Where does this kind of stuff end, right? Even on this channel, on this YouTube channel, like how many videos I can make. If I can make 5 videos a week or 3 videos a week, or, like if you were making 1, now make 2, and if you're making 2, now make 3, now make 5, make 1 a day. Keep pushing out that content. Like, follow Gary Vee as I guess a person that I follow. How do you say follow? Like, I admire what he's doing, and as a business person, like, I follow several different business people. Well, recently when I went to his conference, he's telling people to put out 100 pieces of content a day. Now that's like on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, all this kind of stuff, right? So he's saying if you want to be competitive in our environment, I'm not having a go at that. I'm saying that you do need to do that. Like, I can see that you need to do that. But you can see me sighing already. It's very hard for a one-man band business to be able to do that. Now, half of his audience, if not more, are one-man band type of businesses. And he's saying, well, to be competitive in this environment, that's what you need to be doing. You need to be you need to be having 20 stories on your Facebook or your Instagram, and several TikTok videos, and some of that content can be the same or similar, but it's you're still basically putting out content all the time, and to be able to be noticed, to get attention, and that's what you need in this environment to succeed. And so I guess I'm making this series because the primary people that I want to talk to in this series are people that rely on their creativity for their job or for their work. And how do we balance? How do we find a balance? Can Chinese medicine help us find a balance between that and find something that works? Or how do you drive your creativity in times where you feel like you can't get it? So let's talk about living in terms of the environment. So think for yourself. You need to ask yourself, am I living in harmony with the environment? Or am I living in disharmony with the environment? Or how much, on a scale of 1 to 10, if 10 was the most harmonious you could be, and 0 or 1 is like the least harmonious, how harmonious with the environment do you think that you are? Just ask yourself that for now, like right now, like yesterday, this week. How much in harmony do you feel like you are living with the environment? One is the environment. Now, you can create other environments. I'm talking about the physical environment, the winter, spring, summer, autumn, fall, however you say it, wherever you're from. That's one thing to consider. I think it's really important to think about that. And in terms of that, we think about sleep and diet. So those are 2 fundamental things that help us live in harmony with the environment. So in summertime, you need the least sleep. In wintertime, you need the most sleep. So I know lots of my viewers and listeners on this channel are from the US, and you're probably being in winter right now. So you need the most sleep in winter. And this is where I'm saying our commercialized environment, our society right now doesn't allow us to work less time or work more time in different seasons. Now, I'm not sure about this right now because I haven't been to China for a year, I think, a year and a half. I haven't been to China, but I've been to China over the last 10 years, more than that. I've been to China 11 times since 2001 till now, basically. So I visited China many times, and probably more around 2013, was the most. Like I sometimes go twice a year because I had a retail shop and I was going for business. And so when I was working in the hospital in China, when I was first studying Chinese medicine, I noticed something really interesting. So I went there at a change of season, and they worked less, although they worked less hours in summer. They were given a longer lunch break because it's hot. And so they were given more time to kind of like relax and rest because it's hot in the day. Some of the hospitals had aircon, some didn't have aircon everywhere. And in China, it can get to like, it's very hot and humid. Sometimes it was like 42 degrees and really, really humid, right? Now that was extreme, but I'm talking about Celsius. So I'm not sure about the Fahrenheit. I'm not familiar with that system. They have a rest system there, right? As in they rest, they sleep in the day. And that's part of, I guess, you can see that fading. I can see that fading away now that I've gone to China. The more times I've gone to China, the more commercialized it's become. The more they're trying to come in line with the West. You can see that less and less now in retail sort of businesses. So let's say that for one of the times I would basically have my time off from the hospital. In the lunchtime, you go have your lunch break. And so when I first went there, I was like, whoa, 2.5 hours for lunch. Whoa, that's a lot of time. What am I going to do with all this time? Okay, my lunch, and then what do I do? Like everyone's going for a sleep. Now I was like, whoa, I want to explore China. I want to, do something. So I'd get on my bike and I'd cycle around, and everyone was sleeping. Like you would go around the street, everyone's just lying down having a sleep. Even workers on the side of the road, like they'd just all find a spot and sleep. You'd be surprised where people can sleep in China. Like, on the roadside, on their bike, they'd just sort of slump over something and have a rest. And you'd even go to a market and like people who have got their individual businesses now, because everyone's sleeping, there's no competition of like, well, if I stay awake in this lunchtime, I might make a bit of extra money because someone might come and buy something. Well, no one's coming to buy something then because everyone knows, except I didn't know because I was new, that it was sleepy time and it wasn't commercial buying time. So it's like their shop's still open, but they're sort of like angry at you because you've woken them up to come in and, disturb them. And so, I realised that. Now, that's a cultural thing, so it's inbuilt into the culture. And several cultures that do that have a siesta. They allow their workers to do that. And that's good. But in our society, in Australia, and I'm sure this is the same in the US and the UK, you're not getting a 2-hour lunch break, a 2.5-hour lunch break even. And a lot of people don't even do anything at lunch except they gobble their lunch down at their desk. And so that's not really living in harmony with what your body needs. It's not even allowing your body time to digest the food or, to enjoy that part of it and to be in harmony with your body and in harmony with nature. So one thing I want to talk about is like, that's a good place to start. Let's start with that. Let's start with how harmonious are you with the environment around you? So in winter, the Neijing says you should go to bed early and get up late. Now that means you sleep longer in winter. And then in summer, it's like the opposite. So if you think of sort of winter as one end and summer at the other end, in summer you can go to bed late and get up early. What that means is it's hot, right? So it's hot, it's hard to sleep. And so you're kind of, you might be a bit more, maybe you had a bit of a longer sleep in the day if you're in China or a country that allows you to do that. So you can go to bed a bit later because it's harder to sleep, and because the weather's warmer, you can kind of do things in the evening without feeling, freezing cold. Whereas in winter when it's cold, you want to put a rug on, like you're trying to work on your desk. I remember when I was a student and I'll be sitting there trying to do an assignment, and it was like you'd have 5 rugs on you, trying to keep yourself warm, snuggled up to a little heater, especially if you couldn't afford like central heating or something, and you're freezing and you're trying to do your typing, you've got your little gloves on and everything, so you're trying to stay warm and you'd love to just go to bed. That's the natural thing to do, not to sort of force yourself to stay up. Whereas in summertime it's hot, and so where is the yang in your body is different in those different seasons. So in wintertime your yang's kind of going inwardly, and that's why the outside of our body feels colder. In summertime the yang's kind of out towards the surface. So it's easier to sweat, it's normal to sweat. And so that's one thing about being in harmony with the environment is our sleep. So you need, and the other 2 seasons are like transitional seasons between winter and summer. So if it's like autumn or fall, then you're starting to transition your body towards winter. So yeah, it's a transitional between those two things. So summertime and wintertime are like the opposite times. So in summer you need the most sleep, in winter you need the least sleep, and then you can kind of use the other two seasons to transition yourself towards that with different amounts of sleep. So getting up earlier or going to bed later. And that's according to the Neijing. That's ancient wisdom of Chinese medicine, right? So that's a more than 2,000-year-old textbook. And the Neijing is like a philosophy of Chinese medicine and a philosophy of just how to be a healthy person, and what the basics of Chinese medicine and acupuncture and herbal medicine are kind of based on these ideas. So a Chinese medicine practitioner's job, one of their jobs, is to keep you healthy as a patient. We want to keep you free of illness. We want to keep you not getting sick. We want to prevent you from getting sick, and that's how we want to prevent you from getting sick. And that's one of the reasons why I made this channel, is because this is my way of spreading that message to people. I don't have time in consultations to give people these long lectures about how to help them be healthier, and to be honest, not every patient wants that. Not every person wants to do that. So so that would be the first place that I would start, is the season. So think about seasonal attunement. How in tune to the season are you? Now, it doesn't mean you have to stop using your air conditioning or stop using your heating. It just means to be thinking more mindfully of the seasons, and being aware. Now this isn't so much about creativity and that aspect of things, but definitely you get sick more easily when you transition very abruptly from different seasons. So I don't know if you've ever travelled overseas and one country's been very hot, one country's been very cold. Well, it's easy to get sick like that, because you're transitioning very quickly in an artificial way, in an aeroplane. And so your body's attuning towards being, let's say you're in winter, so your yang's going inwardly, it's going, right, let's preserve that. And so your outside of your body's a little bit cooler. And then you suddenly go into a hot place. Well, and there's all this warmness around you, and then your yang is kind of pushed out to the outside. There's no transition towards that. There's a reason why we have a year of, 365 days, and there's a reason why seasons take the time that they do, because our body needs that transitional time. It's not very healthy to do that. Now, if you did that once or twice in your lifetime, it's not a big deal. But if you're traveling a lot and you're kind of you're putting that pressure on your body, it's just something to be aware of. Now, the second thing to help you be in tune with the seasons is your diet. What are you eating? Are you eating foods and fruits and foods that are in season? Now, I've got quite a lot of videos on different diet things and how to eat seasonally. There was one interview that I did recently with Jason Chong, who's a Chinese medicine practitioner in Melbourne. And that was something that we discussed in the interview, and that's on the audio podcast and on the YouTube channel. So go back and have a listen to that one. That's probably a good thing. Just talking about food miles, how much food travels before you get it, and that influences how healthy it is. Where's food? How long's food been stored? All that kind of stuff. So if you can eat stuff that's seasonally grown, it's grown in that season. If you grow it yourself, that's even better. Or you become part of a food co-op or something like that, and you're able to get the food like that. That's a much healthier way to eat, and help your body through that way. So that's the end of this first part of the series. We're just talking about how to help our creativity, and the first one is to be in tune with it. If we can help our body be in tune with the environment, be in tune with the seasons, through our diet, through our lifestyle. That's one thing that you can do to really help your body. I guess one is to avoid illness, and the second way, so then if our body is healthy, then it's easier to turn on the things that we need to turn on, our mental, emotional functions that are related to these different aspects in Chinese medicine. So I hope that you can join me on the next part, where we're going to be talking about emotions, and we're going to be talking about things like life purpose and planning, and how our purpose is important in how to find your purpose in life in a Chinese medicine way, and how sometimes a physiological dysfunction could affect us in finding our purpose and being purposeful, or having life planning and having purpose. So I hope you can join me on the next episode, and thanks very much. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment below if there's something that's helped you. If you've got any questions and you'd like me to cover in the next video.